Hey guys, so this is going to be my virtual world update video. I took a little while to put this together simply because I wasn't really sure on the build that I wanted to play, even though I had an idea of where the direction I wanted to go with the deck. So it took some time just to try and figure that out and obviously get the ratios right and so on. So at the moment, this is pretty much the most stable build that I've been playing so far. There definitely is going to be changes. I don't feel like I'm really settled with this, but at least with this build I have access to the majority of the boss options available that, how can I say, makes the deck as resilient as possible against whatever that can break the deck in a way. Just the overview. Obviously VW had to make quite massive changes in terms of the extra deck, more specifically. Not really much the main deck, but I have been playing around with different main deck options as well. But the reason why was obviously because of the loss of VFD. You can still make level 9 synchros, but they're not potent enough to just leave them on field. Prior, you make Croc, you make Shen Chen, Vermilion, etc., and then overlay them into a VFD. And now you don't really have that option anymore. Tree Beast really isn't a good enough replacement. So the build that I obviously lean towards was, rather than the hand rip build, which I feel like gets hit very easily with hand traps and is quite easily shut down. The Ultimaya build, in my opinion, is a lot more resilient. Yes, you can still hand trap it, you can still drop a nib in the right time if your hand wasn't good and you needed to go up to 5 summons to make Ultimaya. You also can get Ash, you can get Impermed, you can get Veiled. A bunch of hand traps hit it fairly hard, but you can still play through. That's the nice thing about it. Also, with my particular build, you have options in terms of what you play through with or what you end on with. Depending on your matchup, you obviously want to choose a different boss monster to build your turn 1 board. From there, you obviously are trying to work through whatever your opponent is playing. So you obviously go into different options depending on the matchup. So just getting into the main deck build, it doesn't look much different, but I must admit I went quite, I was playtesting a bunch of stuff, psychic trackers, I was playtesting at one point, tour guides, a weird option, but I might show that build at some point in the future. But anyway, this is the build at the moment. So we have 3 times Lulu, 3 times Lily, 1 times Tutu, 3 times Lao Lao, 2 Nyan Nyan, and then 3 times Gigi. Obviously 2 Nyan Nyan is simply because you don't want to brick on a Nyan Nyan. You'd rather have the names that actually send stuff to the graveyard, etc. I'm really not impressed with Tutu on the new build. It was like almost like crazily good in the previous build with VFD, etc., because you can bump this to 9, you can just special summon this from the graveyard. There was a bunch of stuff you could do with this that made it relevant, but at the moment with the new Ultimaya build, you can't actually send this for Ultimaya because the cards need to go to the graveyard. So this gets banished, so you automatically lose that option. And because you're not really going into a hell of a lot of level 9s, turn 1, Tutu ends up being dead. It's more a grind card at this point, and even if it gets banished, I really don't miss it. GG is probably like the best card in this deck at the moment, simply because yes, you need stuff in the grave, but GG allows you to get that 1+1 in the end phase. So if you go Dragoon, sometimes this GG ad is the only card that you have to discard. So you really need to get this off, and also it's one of the only non-tuner level 3s in your deck, so it ends up being very difficult to make some of the synchros, especially like Muddy, etc., without having him in your hand, which is the reason why I was playtesting Psychic Tracker. Then we have 3 times Ash. I've tried a bunch of different hand traps. You need to play the 3 Ash, it's vital. 2 times ogre, these are flex spots, but I found that having the ogres are actually quite useful. I mean, this could be Veiler, for example, but ogre in particular is level 3, it's psychic, so you can teleport it, you can normal summon it, and then synchro with like GG, etc. You can bring back a Nyan overlay. That's useful. But I think like one of the really tricky useful options for this is that you can bring it back with hot red after you attack, and then you have another interruption. Also, the reason why I went for ogres, or like I'm saying, you can do Veiler, etc., is because you're building a board, and then you have hand traps in hand behind that to interrupt your opponent. So you end up having like Crystal Wing, Dragoon, 2 hand traps in hand. That's 4 interruptions. The odds of them playing through is limited, not impossible, but limited. And then next turn you obviously go off from there. So that's quite good. Gamma package, super important for this deck because you need to protect against hand traps. So I put this back in at there was a point where while I'm playing Gammas just to see how it goes, and it didn't go very well. I actually prefer the Gamma in the main. 3 times Kowloon, obviously standard. 3 times Desires. I might be the only one saying this. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of place testing time with Prosperity. But in my opinion, I think Desires is the better card for this particular deck. Yes, you want to be able to dig for a specific name that you might need, but the way the deck runs at the moment, you generally need the card advantage because you're discarding so much. You need to use your Zanwu, you need to use your Klinglong, etc. So you end up either breaking even or going neg just because you're using those cards. And then Desires is basically recovering or allowing you to go plus first and then neg on those cards. So you really need the +1 here. So I went back to 3 Desires. 2 times Foolish Goods, because the deck works a bit differently now. Previously you could pretty much combo off on almost any combination of virtual walls and gates, but now you need a specific sequence because you need to get into double sixes with 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner for Ultimaya, and then play and so on. And like I honestly don't really like just ending on Chen control. It's not bad, it's just it could be better. So simply because of that, I want to have as much combo as possible. And then also you have a lot of interruptions at the moment. Recently I've been running into like main deck Lanciers and so on. So yes, even though this still sends to graveyard, but having the option to like get an Ash, get hit with Ash, and then say, okay, fine, you Ash my virtual world monster, I'll send it anyway, or you do this first, and then you get Ash, and then you can drop your monster. So I think the Foolish Goods are very, very important. I've seen some builds without it. I think this is important. 1 time Monster Reborn, just because you need material. So I think this is one of the best extender options that you have, because for example, you could let's say you're in an awkward situation, you need to send a monster to grave, you can send Lao Lao, you can make charge, special summon the Lao Lao with this, etc. Or you can special summon level 3, bring back Nyan Nyan, and then synchro from there. So I think Monster Reborn is quite important at the moment. 1 time Teleport, because it's good. 3 times Klinglong, you have to play 3. I've played 2. I've tested around. You really need the 3rd one. And then Zanwu and Chuche. This is on. I'm so tempted to put 2 Chuches in or 2 Zanwus in and play basically 4 traps. But the odds of you breaking on it is so high. But at the same time, I really don't like this ratio, because if you banish the Zanwu and you need it for combo, then you're screwed. If you banish one of the Klinglongs and you have an awkward hand, then you need to send the Klinglong to graveyard to add Kowloon, and then you don't have another target. So this ends up being sometimes very awkward at 3 and 1, but I don't see a way for us to adjust this unless I drop the ogres and it gets messy. Also with the ogre, just to keep in mind, you can still do the clean long play where you like Kowloon into clean long, banish to target something, and then Olga it to the graveyard if you need to. So I also quite like that. Then extra deck is where I think all of the changes and spice comes in. So I'm playing 2 fusion monsters. One is Red Eyes Dragoon and one is Kaliga. They both are pretty much for this exact same purpose. You make Altimaya, you set a card. Obviously Altimaya makes Crystal Ring, and then after that you make Muddy, which I'll move over here. You make Muddy and then send Muddy and activate Muddy effect to send Altimaya and it to the graveyard to fusion summon either one of these. Both of their requirements are basically the same, so you can make either one. So in terms of depending on the deck that you're playing, so for example you're playing a like Dragon Link, for example, you can make Kaliga and there's not much that they can do. If they activate any monster effect, that's it, end their turn. Unless they sided in a bunch of like stuff to stop your deck, a Dark Ruler, etc. The odds of them playing through that is very, very unlikely. However, like with the Kaliga play, if your opponent has a normal summon, so again with Dragon Link, they have some normal summons that can attack over this, or not really over, but you do get what I'm saying. So it is vulnerable to like being attacked, etc. And if your opponent has decks that can basically main deck deal with this, then maybe you rather want to make the Omni Negates Dragoon. So depending on the matchup, I have both of these options. We see Altimaya Crystal Ring because that's standard. You're going into the Altimaya, you're setting a card and making Crystal Ring. Fair. I'm playing 2 Muddy Dragons, and the reason for this is because in the deck there's no way for you to special summon the Muddy Dragon back to the field. So if you only play 1, you can only do it once. Whereas in this deck I have the option of making basically 2, like I can make Kaliga and Dragoon at different times in that one game, because I'm running double Muddy. But the main reason I'm playing double Muddy is because I want to use one of them to make Hot Red. Muddy is one of the few Synchro Dragon level 6s, so if I have the opportunity, I make Muddy, use a level 3 tuner to make Hot Red. Ideally this is my end board. I want to make Crystal Wing with Altimaya and then make Hot Red, and then I'm pretty fine if I have a Chuche in the back. If I have more resources, which is highly unlikely, I'll then make Shenshen. So the rest of my 9 is Shenshen and Vermilion. Then level 6s we have Coral and Charge, because you need a tuner and non-tuner level 6. So I have those. We have 1 times Zeus, 1 times Beyond, 1 times M7, and 1 times Gossip. So let me start with the Gossip. So I wasn't really a big fan of Gossip prior. However, because you're trying to use your level 3 monsters a lot, if you get interrupted or you get Lancia out of nowhere, etc., a lot of the time you only have 2 level 3s on field, so at least you can make a Gossip and you can end, and you have that and maybe a Chuche in the back, 2 interruptions to deal with, and maybe some hand traps. So that's actually not super bad. Also, Gossip is a +1, so as much as it's like it's not a negate, it changes it to draw, both players draw a card, but the fact that it kind of negates the card and you get a card in hand, even though you're giving your opponent one, in this particular deck now, because you need the hand advantage, it's really, really good. Then we have M7. M7 in this is also really good. After you make Zolkin and Crystal Wing, sometimes you only have 2 level 6s or access to 2 level 6s, so you can make M7. Depending on what was in your hand, you probably would have discarded some stuff. Maybe you discarded hand traps, so you can basically bounce the hand traps back to your hand, or you can detach, bounce one of the BWs back to your hand, and then end phase, a GG will send the other one back to your hand. So you end up having like 2 or more BWs for next turn, which is phenomenal. And then obviously you can bounce your opponent's monsters as well. So M7 at the moment, as well, I didn't play it prior. I was stuck for space, but right now I think it's necessary for you to have this. Then we have Utopia Beyond. This deck can quite easily out a Dragoon, especially if you bait the negate. But there are instances where like a Dragoon gets put on field late game, or there's other obstacles that you need to get over, especially like high attack options. It ends up being like link options and so on, because Crystal Wing only gets the attack boost when it's a level. It ends up being very awkward to try and get around that monster, and I don't really like playing Fortune Tuner, attacking into something and then overlaying Zeus and then using Zeus. I feel like it's a much better play to make like Beyond, out whatever you need to out, and then overlay a live Zeus for next turn as defense, which is the reason why I have that Beyond in. This spot was a bunch of different things. It was a Cloud Castle, it was a bunch of different things, Juju, etc. But in this particular deck, 90% of the time you're trying to get into the monies, you're trying to get into the hot trade. You don't really make like Juju a hell of a lot. You don't really make Cloud a hell of a lot. So those were utility cards to bring back stuff or spot removal. But it seems like for the most part I'm trying to hit my combo, because once I hit my combo, then I can out whatever I that's on the board. Okay, and then side deck, I have quite a bit of spice in there. We have the 2x Kaiju. We're obviously going with the wind one because of Tri Brigade. So I mean, I actually always preferred this one in a way, because as much as it's 500 more attack than Gamma Seal, it has much less defense. So there's times where you just Gamma Seal someone, they goes into their turn and they just flip it to defense, and that's a big problem. So this you can out pretty much if it's an attack or defense. 2x Lancia, I probably want to bump this up to 3. I'm gonna try and find some space. I'm probably gonna drop the next card, but we'll see. It's been pretty good so far. Then we have 3x Quacky Mare of Doom. So if you haven't read this card, it basically says during the main phase, all light and dark monster effects are negated. So not that they can't activate, not that they are automatically negated. So you can, and this ends up being a really good card if you don't need to normal summon specifically. If you need to normal summon, then it's completely dead because you're just gonna have it in your hand. But it can be discarded fodder. But if you normal summon this, your opponent can't nub you, they can't gamma you, they can't veiler you, they Phantasme. I mean, there's a bunch of you can't Meister. There's a hell of a lot of hand traps that they can't do. The big one is obviously Ash. It doesn't affect Ash, so they can still Ash you through this. But if you put this on the field for the majority, you have some kind of security to say things are going to be okay because I have some defense. Also, VW struggles quite a bit with the Dragon Link board, just because of all of the bounces that they have. So it becomes very, very difficult to break that board. So I've been looking at different hand trap options, and if you've played against Dragon Link, you know that there's no one hand trap that can basically stop them from playing or stop them from building the board that they need. They will build it irrespective. You need 2+ hand traps to make it happen, and a combination of 2 good hand traps. So I've been trying to theory craft how do I break that board. Like Dark Ruler is not really great because they can negate it to Hot Red. And then I came up with this guy. So basically I just summon this guy. And then okay, if they have the trap bounce, then fair enough. This gets bounced to my hand and I lost my normal summon. But I baited that out. And they have to tribute a dragon, which isn't ideal. They generally only have negates and not a lot of fodder on field. But if I normal summon this and they don't have the trap, automatically there's nothing that they can do. they can't seal. They can seal, but it's not gonna activate. They can't even special summon with the sealed in graveyard. They can't hot red. There's no Savage Dragon activation. Literally, I can play for free. So I think this is really, really good. The only thing I hope that is I could have worked like 2 extra fiends into the deck, so that this could be live. I can just reveal a fiend at the end phase, but having 3 sometimes is fine. If you draw 2, you normal summon 1, and then you reveal it, and then yeah, can't activate. Also, like if you can put this up and keep it on field for your opponent's turn, I mean, all of the effects activated in the main phase, and all of them are light and dark effects. So pretty much they can't combo. It doesn't stop it from activating. It gets negated. So if they try to activate it, it gets negated and they can't activate it again. So it's quite good. And we have 2 times Dollar and Rockbird. As well, maybe this should go to 3, maybe this should go to the main deck. I'm not really sure yet. 3 times Dark Ruler. I think Dark Ruler hits pretty much the entire meta, other than maybe Dino. Oh, and Lich. Okay, so it really only hits like Dragon Link, it hits VW, it hits Bird Up. So I think this is quite important to have in the side deck. And then I have 2 times Cyclone, 1 times Reboot. Duster, I'm not really sure about at the moment. I'm thinking I'm gonna stick to Cyclone for now, just because the decks I want to hit their back row, I generally want to banish it. So the Lich matchup, Shadow's, Drytron, I want to try and banish their cards if I'm going to hit it, so Cyclone is good. So outside of that, this is the deck list. I think the only thing that some people might be confused about, but you might be seeing how the strategy works at the moment, because there's a lot of people doing it. The reason why I want to make Hot Red is because it can negate Dark Ruler. So basically Dark Ruler or Droplet. Dark Ruler and Droplet say that you can't respond to this card. In the case of Dark Ruler, it says with monsters, and in the case of Droplet, it says with whatever you send to graveyard, that type of card. So basically how Hot Red works is you can activate something else. In the case of Dark Ruler, you can activate Chuche, target the Dark Ruler to destroy it, and then you can chain to Chuche with Hot Red, because you're not responding to Dark Ruler with a monster effect. You're responding to Dark Ruler with a trap, and then you're responding to the trap with a monster effect. And because he Bus says target a face-up card and negate it, Dark Ruler in that chain is face-up, so you can target that, negate it, and then resolves backward. It gets destroyed, and then it doesn't resolve. So I think that is a fantastically strong play. From what my playtesting, definitely VW is not top tier. They're probably low tier 1, high tier 2 at this point. But I think I'm gonna be continuing playing VW, simply because I think it's still one of the most flexible decks out there. It probably just needs some time to settle into what it's gonna be going forward. So yeah, so that's my updated VW list. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, definitely leave a comment, give me some feedback. I always love that. And yeah, check out the rest of my videos that are coming. Cool, thanks, bye.